What is going on, Jet fans? I am Matt O'Leary, back with another video. Excited to get into this one with you guys. Today, we're going to get into a mock draft that has the New York Jets trading up for Marvin Harrison Jr. Hello. And also, while we're on the topic of trades, let's talk about some other trade ideas because the Jets have some much needed flexibility now, and we'll get into all of that in today's episode. Have you ever Googled yourself and were shocked to see your personal information exposed on one of those public listing sites? Data brokers are making a fortune selling your information to robocalls, spammers, and others who want to learn more about you, like where you live. As a public figure, this type of stuff is an absolute nightmare for me. Private information should remain that, private. This is why I'm pumped to tell you about our new sponsor, Aura. Aura can identify data brokers exposing your information and submit opt-out requests on your behalf. Brokers are legally required to remove your info if you ask them to, but they make it super hard to do it. Let Aura handle that for you. You can try Aura for free for 2 weeks using my link, aura.com/Matt O'Leary. Aura also does so much more to protect you and your family from online threats you can't see. It's really easy to set up so you don't have to download several different apps to get things like parental controls, antivirus, VPN, password management, identity theft insurance, and more. You get everything at one affordable price. Let Aura do the hard work of keeping you safe online so you can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. Once again, start your 2-week free trial by using my link and going to aura.com/Matt O'Leary. The link is also in the description for this video, so make sure to check it out. Okay, so Daniel Jeremiah has the New York Jets trading up for Marvin Harrison Jr. to pick number 5. The Jets currently have pick number 10. In his trade, he is saying a 2025 second-round pick. I think it would cost more than that. I think it would cost probably your first-round pick next year in order to do that. It's a risky play. I'm not saying that it's, that this play doesn't come without any sort of potential backlash or risk involved, but the thought of Garrett Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. in the same receiving core on rookie contracts, pretty exciting. Pretty exciting stuff. Obviously, you have to get down to you're going to have to pay both of them eventually, and that whole discussion, you can worry about that in 2028. How about in 2024 and 2025 when the New York Jets are tearing it up with 2 stud wide receivers from Ohio State? Marvin Harrison Jr., I don't know why some just insist on doing the mental gymnastics this time of year to try to convince themselves that these elite level prospects just aren't very good, or getting cute and ranking guys ahead of others. We see this a lot at this time of year between the NFL Combine and when the draft is at the beginning of April. And don't overthink it. Marvin Harrison Jr. is an elite level talent. He should probably go, if Arizona doesn't trade out at pick 4, because the team very likely, the Minnesota Vikings, who are loading up on draft capital, will be moving up for J.J. McCarthy of all people, but J.J. McCarthy at pick 4, which is nuts. If he's there and the Chargers are picking up the phone to move back, I think you have to consider. I know that, people like the prospect hug and they don't want to give up any draft capital, give up any draft assets, but that would be a really, really big swing to go to improve this receiving core and just the weaponry that the New York Jets have over the next few years. And I'm not going to dismiss it. I'm not going to come on the show and just be like, yeah, this is a bad idea. If the Jets were to do this, I'd be upset. That's silly. Is it aggressive? Yes. Is it bold? Yes. I'm just mentioned there is risk involved because you're probably having to give up capital in next year's draft class as well. Like, I'm totally admitting that, and that's a reasonable critique of this move. But man, the upside I think is worth it. I would highly, highly consider it. And if that was on the table for the Jets, holy smokes, would that be a lot of fun. Now, why stop there with the trades? Because the Jets were supposedly kicking the tires on Jerry Jeudy. They maybe weren't necessarily interested in Deontay Johnson, but The moral of the story, Keenan Allen was one. There you go. Keenan Allen was a name they were supposedly kicking the tires on. The Jets almost traded for Tyreek Hill a couple years ago. They've been trying to be active in the wide receiver trade market, it feels like, for a while. And who knows, they might end up signing Mike Williams today or tomorrow, and it becomes a little bit of a moot point. But moral of the story, the Jets, because of the Tyron Smith signing, which we talked about at length already over the weekend and earlier this week, and how it has such an impact on what the Jets could do in the draft, and it gives them much more flexibility with their picks, they could also now potentially look to trade for one of those bigger receivers who would essentially cost a first-round pick. And I'm not saying pick number 10 for Brandon Aiyuk or pick number 10 for only T. Higgins, but you could start to move around a little bit and get cute and try to get some packages to make it work. So looking at Brandon Aiyuk, would you do something like Brandon Aiyuk and pick 31 to the Jets for pick number 10? So the Jets slide back 26 picks they slide back 21 picks, but the capital difference between pick 10 and pick 31 is essentially the equivalent to pick 26. There you go. So the Jets in value would essentially be giving up the 26th overall pick for Brandon Aiyuk, and maybe you throw in an additional pick next year, not a first or a second rounder, but somewhere in the mid rounds to sweeten the pot, and that's what pushes it over the finish line. That's something, again, aggressive, but you might have to consider. 26-year-old wide receiver coming off a 1,300-yard season at 7 touchdowns. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds, a prototypical outside receiver. 76% of his snaps were out wide last year. Really explosive player. An explosive player, and he's good with the ball in his hands. I would be really excited about seeing him with the ball in space in this offense, teaming up next to Garrett Wilson. Or what about T. Higgins, which is another name that was supposedly on the trade block, and neither of those guys have got moved yet, Aiyuk and Higgins. What about Higgins and pick number 18 to the Jets for pick 10 and 72? So the Jets would slide back 8 spots and give up their 3rd round pick for T. Higgins. That's the value of a late round, 1st round pick. I believe somewhere around pick 28 or 29, somewhere in between that range for T. Higgins. Now for T, he's 25 years old, coming off a season where he played 12 games, 656 yards and 5 touchdowns in those 12 games. In his first 3 years in the league, he went over 900 plus yards in each of his first 3 years and had 6+ touchdowns in every single season as well. 6'4", 219 pounds. He is a bigger outside receiver. And in 2022, the last time he was healthy and played a full season, he had the 6th most contested catches in the NFL with 16. So yeah, the first part was talking about how the Jets could be aggressive and trade up. But what about moving around the draft board in the 1st round and using a trade down scenario which lands you a stud young wide receiver? It's different from trading, mega assets for like a Devontae Adams, let's say, at this point in his career, where Brandon Aiyuk is 26 years old, where T. Higgins is 25 years old. They're just entering their prime now. You don't have to give up your 1st round picks. You are sliding back, so you can still add something else later in the 1st round. And sure, you might have to give up additional capital for in either of these trades, whether it's next year or what. But while we were on the discussion point of the Marvin Harrison Jr. trade up, I thought to myself, well, wait a minute, what if the Jets actually do become players in T. Higgins or Brandon Aiyuk or someone like that? And I know that some are going to bring up the cap space, and the Jets are sitting around at least $9 million after all their signings. They could still create close to $20 more million by restructuring a John Franklin Myers, by extending or restructuring of DJ Reed. There's pretty easy things to do to get yourself additional cap space to make it work in 2024. And I would consider it. I think the Jets need to make a strong, aggressive, bold move at the wide receiver position to add with Garrett Wilson. So let me know your thoughts on the Marvin Harrison Jr. trade up idea, or the trade for veteran wide receivers in Brandon Aiyuk, or T. Higgins. Let me know your thoughts. I'm Matt O'Leary, and I will catch you next time.